Pounders. Welcome back. Today, I have very exciting guests for you guys. Someone that I watch his content all the time. He's one of the nicest people that I think is in this space as well. So we officially present the Pound and the Splashers. Chris, welcome to the live stream, man. How you
I'm
doing?
glad to be on here, Pat. I know I've watched your streams before. I have some questions about your draft style, but I know you're in the space. You're doing the grind every day, and you got the branding, man. You are branding it down to the core in a way that I admire. So that's why I'm here primarily.
Let's go. Hype me up. Hype me up. So we have to ask the tough hitting questions today. Pulled some questions from some of the Pounders, stuff that they want to know, and if you're ready, we can jump right into some of these hard hitters.
I'm following lead. I'm so used to driving the ship. This time you can take me wherever you want, Pat. As long as it's not gonna get too weird. Even there, that's where I thrive.
We probably go off the beaten path a little bit. We'll stick with fantasy just to start, and then we'll see where it goes. What potential holdout players were you the most?
Can you repeat that? What players in general?
What potential holdout players?
Oh, holdout players. I mean, to me, the holding out stuff is not something I worry about. It's just a thing that you have to be mindful of and how it's going to affect ADPs. So, like for T. Higgins, I've been thinking that the entire time period. He's going to do what he's going to do right now because they haven't talked to him for a year. And the fact that they haven't shown a commitment to wanting him there, and he's kind of a mercurial guy. So that's an important one because that could be a difference of 15 spots in ADP over the course of the next few weeks. But all the receivers, really, you have Lamb, you have Jefferson. I don't know how much those guys can fall, but if there's a point where Jefferson falls to 8, 9 because he's holding out and waiting for CD to sign his deal so he can do his, that would be huge. But the biggest part to me is it's insane how you have some guys who are getting penalized for the holdouts and some guys who aren't and getting steamed up more. Like Ayuk, Ayuk's the one who's not going to be there for sure for a while, and people just still love him too much. So I don't know how you feel about it, Pat, but I feel like the markets, to me, you trust market data. That's the most important part in best ball, but I don't think the markets are as sharp as they have been in recent years, to be honest.
No, especially for how early people are getting into content this year. It feels like the ADPs should have been sharper by now, but we'll pull up some of these players. So Ayuk not taking part in OTAs, of course. The overreaction to the market is he's going to drop, and until you get that news that either got a deal done or he's returned, he's probably going to fall behind Debo pretty consistently now.
Yeah. And Debo getting the camp reports too about he's basically the only guy who's out there right now, him and Pearsall can't earn targets for anything. So it's going to be Ayuk not out there, Debo getting all the looks. So Debo can come up, and you have guys like Davis Maddock out there who are driving Debo to the moon. And maybe that matters at a certain point.
Right. And what percent do you like to lean in to these type players when they fall? And where do you think Ayuk's bottom would be?
So I don't know that Ayuk will hit the bottom because I still see people taking them at the 1-2 turn sometimes, and I'm baffled by that. It all it takes is enough people really being committed and pot committed to taking a guy at a certain spot because they don't like Drake London. They don't maybe want to take the risk on Marvin Harrison to keep him around. In my mind, he should probably form more reliably to the 2-3 turn just to take a little bit of a discount for you accounting for some risk. But with that being the CMC spot where you can get Ayuk and Laporta, I think would work pretty well for the week 17 bros going out of their way to do that. So if I had to guess, maybe 2-3 turn at a minimum.
Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see what else we got here. Favorite QB late stack?
Bo Nix, me and Hayden Winks, two of the greatest minds, which thank God for Hayden fucking caping for Bo Nix now all the time. But I just think Bo Nix, what he did in college last year, people really crapped on what he did at Oregon, and he was the most efficient QB in football EPA wise. And under pressure, it's really hard to have a positive EPA and expected points added metric under pressure. For Bo Nix to do that and create value for Troy Franklin and create value for Bucky Irving, I think he's being slept on way too much. But honestly, Bryce Young is okay. He's getting the glow up from Dave Canales. I think you could make a living off of late QB again, and I think the data supports that too.
Yeah, I agree. Now, your favorite stack with Bo Nix, are you going Troy Franklin? Are you going Marvin Mims? Are you bringing in a late tight end?
I like the Franklin Mims duo with that. I'm okay taking Sutton. I think it's going to be hard for him to find a trade market for himself or anybody that wants to pay him even close to what the guys are getting. But I think
True.
it's Franklin and Mims to me. Like Franklin, I think people have slept on way too much. That's been one of the biggest things I've beaten the drum of on Splash Play every day. And I think he got the best landing spot. He and Bo Nix, like legit friends in real life. And Sean Payton went out of his way to get him after seeing him work with Bo Nix at the Oregon Pro Day. So like Franklin to me is one of the guys who you don't want to throw the puka. We don't want to throw the puka word around here, but like puka adjacent potential.
Nice. I like that. I know. I don't really think there's going to be there's not going to be a puka. There's definitely not going to be a Laporta. Like I can tell you that there's not going to be someone that spikes in at the rate that rookie did last year. Like it's just not. It's not going to happen.
You might get an approximation with Ben Sinnott, I think, is a shot. There's a faint chance Jatavian Sanders can get there in Carolina, I think. But Sinnott's the big bet to me. Jaden has some great OTA reports already coming out today, some dime he hit with Jahan Dotson. I think people are going to start to catch up that Jaden, this is my big bet, is that he's Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud rolled into one based on what I swear by analytically. I think he creates value for that room, and I think Sinnott's your best shot at a Laporta, but right. Other than that, it's like Brock Bowers, and he's at an appropriate ADP anyway.
Yeah, true. Very true. Yeah, I know. And even Sinnott's been steamed up. He's going sooner than I think where even Laporta ended last year. So
yeah, he went in the 130s at a room I did this morning, which I was like, that's egregious because he goes in the 170s sometimes. I like the guy, but you have to be aware of like the bottom cap as well.
Right. And how much does that price and reaching on your guys matter to you, especially in a contest like BBM that's open for basically the entire summer?
I hate reaching in general just because of the fact that I do believe market data and trying to soak up the value of ADP is really important. But I think that's a little more important in June, July, August, especially as we get in and prices firm up. Because I think, like we talked about, like the market prices to me, I think the info gathering by some people has been pretty soft this year too, where like people are sleeping on Marshawn Lloyd. He's currently the RB1 with Jacobs on the sideline. He's going to be the 1B at best at a certain point when Jacobs is back out there. But he's a guy that's got a lot of juice. He's going to get pass game work. He's going to me 20 spots too low. Bucky Irving, same thing for Tampa Bay. Inefficient back in front of him. Guy with a lot of juice coming in. He's going to the 170s. Why is he going behind Kamani Vidal, who played at Troy and did nothing at Troy? I think is kind of a mistake. So with those guys, I'm willing to move around more. But for guys like, I'm not going to take Marvin Harrison at pick 2 because like I'm smarter than everybody and he's going to beat out CD and those guys.
Right. Yeah, I think another interesting point to that is there's so much time for ADPs to change too. So like overreaching on a player, especially the earlier it is to like try to get different, where the ADPs might just change in a negative way that getting different now is even more, minus EV. So I do think that's a really good point.
Yeah, it's always going to be subject to your ability to handle a room too and how you move things around. And like to me, if you've drafted as much as Pat has, as I have, as anybody in general out there has, who does a lot of this content, like I could see why they're going to feel more comfortable moving around, and that's part of my own logic. But if you're like hopping in, you're trying to get good at best ball, being disciplined over and over again, and being structural and correlating and doing that stuff, like that's the best thing you should do. And I wouldn't get outside my lane with that if you're starting out.
Yeah, for sure. What about Derek Carr? Like he's someone late that goes super late for me that I can't stop clicking. We know, I mean, last year he didn't have the highest of ceiling games, but where we're drafting Chris Olave, for me, the earlier I draft or I invest capital in a wide receiver, especially, the more I want the QB. So it's just kind of baffling that you can get Derek Carr at 195, even as just an advance rate play, to get you to week 17.
Derek Carr had winning weeks last year too, down the home stretch. Like he had playoff winning weeks that I think were there. So I'm with you on that. I think people saw Rattler coming in and there was like a weird bias for Rattler because he was a top QB prospect. Didn't really do a lot in college. And I had actually on stream, I was like, you guys, there are people who thought that he was like one of the top 5 QBs. I'm like, dude, you're like, this can't be more wrong. He was really bad and he flamed out relatively in college, but he comes in. Jake Hayner, I think, is the bigger threat to maybe do some Derek Carr stuff. And Clint Kubiak's using Taysom Hill a lot again after they kind of shifted away from Taysom down the home stretch of last year. He got a lot less work the last like month of the season. So I think Carr, you're absorbing some risk, but I would agree. Like if you're taking Olave, the bet is that he's going to hit with Carr. Olave can't pay off that price tag unless Carr has a decent enough year where he's making lineups for you.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's funny, like Rattler, I thought he was going to end up on the Giants. I thought he could have ended up in Seattle even, and he makes his way to New Orleans, which I don't think is really a good spot for him. I don't think that really has a high chance of seeing games this year. But yeah, Derek Carr at 195, definitely one of my favorites. Which sophomore running back is your favorite outside of the top three? Outside of Bijan, Gibbs, and Achan, who's your favorite sophomore running back this year?
It's tough because not a lot of them got fantastic landing spots or situations. Like Roshan, I would have been very bull on if they didn't get DeAndre Swift and pay him 18 mil. I'm trying to think who else would be like Kendre would probably be it, I guess, besides
Okay.
top three. Top three, I think, is like tremendous. So I don't want to like sleep on them and not acknowledge that these guys are like a tier above everything. And that's why I'm taking running backs early. I'm a zero RB guy at heart, but like when you have young guys entering year two and offenses that are ascendant, and then they did so well in year one, you got to make those buy-ins. But Kendre is the one where it's like he was better than Kamara last year in a lot of metrics. He's better in the pass game. He kind of had a bad run out last year. But again, not to keep shouting out Hayden Winks, but I thought he had an interesting chart that he tweeted out today where it's like there were three running backs that got work last year as rookies. It was Gibbs, it was Bijan, and it was who am I missing there? Gibbs, Bijan, and whoever the third one is, Achan, obviously, fucking duh. So it's like those three guys, and it's like everybody else got no work, so we don't really know who's great. Yeah, it's one of these charts.
Yeah, here's the chart.
And like Bigsby might be live too, honestly. Charbonnet, like these guys, ambiguous backfield for Charbonnet. Bigsby, Peterson's already talking him up as one to take work off. If he sucks again, that's going to get pulled away pretty quickly. But really, any of these guys to me, zero RB build, Chase Brown as well is a priority for me. I think that probably my big hope is relative to these guys. Chase Brown, I guess ADP and my exposure would be the biggest hope.
Hell yeah, yeah, I like that. And yeah, I thought this was a great chart for this conversation too, just because it's like some of these guys go actually very early and some of them go pretty late, like Roshan, but of course the third running back being there. Where do you think Tank Bigsby should be going right now? Are you high on Tank?
He should be getting drafted. I think the issue for me is I don't think he's that talented, but the situation, the fact they're calling him out when they drafted another running back this year and they're not talking about like getting him in the mix. It's like, we have to get Bigsby more touches again. Right. So I think that's a positive for Tank. I would say he should still probably be 190-ish, 180-ish, because you do have to have the priors. And he was a negative EPA per target guy, like negative 1 point per target last year, because he had the one play where a ball bounced off of his collarbone. He gave it up for a touchdown. And it's like, you can't do stuff like that and be a pro and get time on the field. So that's bad. But in terms of the power running, the ability to be even a little bit shiftier than ATN sometimes, I think he's okay. So he should be getting drafted, but I wouldn't go nuts with him. I wouldn't steam him up to like the 120s or anything.
Right. I'm over here just praying like Khalil Herbert gets moved. That's sort of where I'm at. Even if it's not the start of the season, I have done a few teams where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna click Rashawn and Herbert and make this small concentrated bet that maybe Herbert gets moved at some point, and then especially like not in BBMs as much, but in those contests that are the smaller time frame, like the puppies that just filled relatively quickly. Not having, if it does happen in the preseason, not having that many teams that have that combo. And obviously those would be both big winners for ADP.
How big are your Herbert bags? Because I have noticed that people who love Khalil Herbert are like, oh, he's going to go to the Cowboys. He's going to go to the Bills. Like and a little bit of wish casting on that where teams sometimes just want the security at running back. You just want to know that if Swift gets hurt, you got two guys there.
I'm Rashawn over Herbert.
Okay. Me too.
And then, so even like we remember the early ADPs of the big board when there was like a 35 pick spread between those two. So it's kind of weird to see them like come together in this market. And now I think Roshan's starting to pull ahead just a little bit. But we can talk more about that. We did fill the room. Shout out to the Patreon members and the YouTube memberships. Let's see if anyone snuck in here with us.
Oh, I love you sneaking in the rooms. Don't let people on stream who aren't paying you hop in every stream and ruin it for you, Pat.
That's
That's my campaign for all the
well,
streamers out there.
it's even worse. It's even worse because the people that jump in the streams mainly now have the draft guide. They have the CSV, so they know what players I like and where I like them. So it does actually gets me different, which is funny. But shout out to J Dubs and Frank in the 12. Frank is a thorn in my side with my favorite clicks. So Frank's a good drafter.
See, that's the tough part for me. Is like I want to be in rooms where nobody knows any of my preferences. Like, and obviously you can't control that. It's a small enough community. I mean, especially for guys like us who are doing the content every day. Like people are seeking out the content. They see you. That's how it goes. But for me, it's like one of those things where like I saw my portfolio suffer a little bit for it. I had great, like huge injuries that hurt me. AR and Christian Watson were my two highest exposed guys. But it's still one of those things where it's like you just want to get your guys while they're priced at this range. And if everybody in your room is swearing by the things you believe in to some extent, they're like, oh, this guy's a Jaden Daniels. I'll take him at 95. And it's like, well, great. In a normal room, I'll get him at 130. Like, why do this?
Right. And I think, man, like that will, if I want a certain player, I want to get ahead on a player and I'm not getting him, the more you jump into rooms, like the less you get them. It's like probably just the worse overall for your portfolio. If you're not getting any new news on other players and you're just trying to focus like one or two, and maybe the news just dropped, so everyone's focusing those two, it's almost better to just like let the steam cool off over the next 2 days. I'm cool with the Bijan fall. I don't know how you feel about
let's see Bijan here. I think like to me, Bijan, I'm not reaching ahead of for Brees Hall and Bijan. I'm not taking Puka there at this point. I think Puka's come down enough that like you got to take Hall or Bijan if you're in the spot.
Worried at all? Clearly not about the injury.
Puka falling in this room, huh? I feel like I've not seen a lot of 1-2 turn Puka.
No. If he goes past 11, it'll be interesting. He goes at 11.
Yeah, 11, you're close enough. You're not gaining a huge amount from that, but maybe get unique if you stick the rest of the draft.
But even if you get Puka at 12, like these guys like Gibbs, Marvin Harrison, they fall pretty commonly in rooms, so I don't think you're really getting a different combo there. Yeah, it's funny this 1-2 turn that people really drafters, they don't know who belongs here because it's different every single time.
Yeah, I love Harrison being there. Like to me, Garrett Wilson, you could flip him back and I'd be happy with that. I'd like Drake go at 12 and I wouldn't be mad at that. Garrett Wilson's one to me where he's just kept this price tag because people miss year one and whatever.
I don't mind double RB start. We could do that. It'd be interesting, but
I mean, there's no, I can live with that. It's your stream. I feel like if you're pushing me to double running backs here, then I'm learning about you, Pat, which was the goal of the stream for me.
Let's go receiver. We'll stay a little more open. We'll stay a little more open build. That brings up what's been your favorite roster construction, and especially at the onesie position. Are you against 3 QB or 3 tight end?
It's all relative to the room and what you have. Like I do believe a lot. And if you take, QB too late, I'm not just like elite QBs, but let's say I start with QB1 as I don't know, Trevor Lawrence even. I probably would like to go to 3 QBs in that kind of build. Especially if you're going even thinner than that. I definitely want 3 QBs. Same thing for tight end. It's all sort of a sliding scale relative to that. My preferred build is still going to be the extreme 0 RB stuff where you get wide receiver, hit it hard and heavy. But it's tough for me now because there's tight ends I like. Like I like Laporta. I like McBride. Kelsey, I'm iffy on, but Kincaid, I want to make sure I'm with the field on this year. So like those guys I want to get out of the way. And I love Anthony Richardson. I like Stroud a lot. I think this could be Stroud's MVP year. So like those guys I don't want to miss on. I fall into the Hurts trap a lot because he'll fall to 37, 38, 40, and I'll take him there. So it's really relative to the rooms. I feel like I've had to be more adaptable to rooms this year, which is part of why me was like, I think the last dying man who's holding on to 0 RB, like an amulet. And I'm doing that. And it's like, you just got to take running back sometimes, even if most of my portfolio will be 0 RB, like you have to have hero RB throughout it, I think too.
Yeah, it's definitely smart. And the way I like to look at that is in a single week contest, can this player in this range have a spike week bigger than the other players in that range? Or are they at least capable of having that game? And then what's the chance of that? Is it 20%? over Debo, well, you want that person 1 out of 5 times then. Like you still want to mix them in just at a different percent.
Yeah, that's exactly the way to think about it. The probabilistic way of viewing things, I feel like, is one thing people don't do enough, and it's hard because in DFS, it's like, okay, I think this guy has a 50% chance of hitting. You should probably play the guy 50% of the time. But even in best ball, like if I think, like last year, I thought AR had a 50% chance of being this world-beating QB. Obviously, injury got in the way, but I still wasn't going to draft him 50% of the time because in best ball, it's like you have to hit those right spikes in the right time frames, and also the stack has to be valuable too with it sometimes. And I think that's the part of best ball that people haven't figured out yet is like, if you're doing, I don't know how you feel about it, Pat, but if you're doing like regularly 40%, 50% exposures, maybe you hit, but I think you're more likely doing damage to your portfolio than not.
Yeah, for me, it's really tough to justify. It's really tough to justify anything above like 25%. I'd really, and those are going to be late ADPs. Now, the closest I got to that was, I think, 20% Jalen Waddle from the big board, and he was just like completely mispriced. So he was around, I think, like 22%. But yeah, I'm more of a portfolio spreader, but getting my guys at a better price. So maybe I'm getting a discount on someone end of the season that now all the players I liked that went behind them have risen to a spot where it's like, okay, now I'll maybe just mix them in at a normal rate instead of heavily target them. Now I'll draft some of these fallers that I like because their price is now more stomachable, I guess.
Yeah, especially in a BBM. Like for the big board, I do press my advantage a little bit more, and I'm a little bit looser with exposures just because I think people aren't caught up enough on who's going to go where and what their actual value is. But for BBM, it's like this is the tournament that goes until the last dying moments of draft season. So you really have to be mindful of like if there's going to be a buying opportunity later for somebody, and two, if you get your guys early, like I have a lot of Jaden right now, I have a lot of Terry McLaurin. I'm going to dial that back throughout the summer, and I feel like I have a good base of these guys. And in case they do come up meaningfully, like now I'm covered at the ADP that at least we're starting with.
Yeah, I like that. We'll take HN at 32. The other day on stream, we were in the 12 spot, and HN fell to 35. It was a tragic moment.
Why? That's crazy.
It was a tragic moment for the stream. I'm not recovered yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Oh God, I'm seeing it all over again.
Honestly, though, Neighbors and HN here, I wouldn't hate either. Like this room, you're getting some fun room. These are your regulars. I need to maybe I need to do on your stream draft.
Let's go. All right, a little HN in 32.
That's got to be unique. That's got to be at least a little bit unique. We're maybe in the 10% of time, but like,
yeah, probably about
maybe the reach for
less than 10%, less than 10%.
Yeah,
and you just don't know with BBM because of the ADP movement. Like Bijan and Debo could be pretty common, so that's where it's just like, go get your guys, basically.
This kind of build, this feels like one to me, and I still, with running backs, I do want a little more volume than it feels comfortable with just because it's running back, things can happen, game flow, injury, all that.
Right.
This is the kind of build where like, I feel like you could just go 2 running backs and just go like, fuck it. Like, let's just go. Let's hit every other position hard, especially receiver, because these guys were like the elite of the elite, really.
Yeah. You say like just stop it too, like entirely too? Or
like I don't think we should do it for the
next RB like round 12 plus.
I think if you're going to make the bet on these guys and you're going to do the legendary upside kind of thing, like these guys have the potential to have 1,500 yard, 15 TD years amongst them. And both offenses are going to be good enough, at least for the regular season for Miami, to score points that I could live with that, knowing how much capital we spent. But yeah, like obviously, I think you want to get to 4 no matter what. But hey.
Ooh. I'm okay with Tank Dell here.
Okay.
For me, I think he is like, I'd rather draft Tank Dell than Diggs. So in order to get some of my Houston exposure, and I still think Collins is a little expensive relative where Tank Dell goes. So I need to get a piece of this Houston offense, and I've accepted, for me it's going to be Tank Dell.
I am the last person in fantasy who believes in Stephon Diggs, apparently, because like I thought the price tag, people take him enough, but he's the best targeter out of all these guys. Like he had a 29% target per run rate last year. Nico was at 28. Tank was at, I think, actually, I could look it up real fast, but like these guys were both around 25% to 28%, but lower than Diggs. Like Diggs is still an alpha target earner, and now he's getting the best run out of his career. The chemistry between Dell and Stroud is huge, and even Nico and Stroud like got there over the course of a year, but to me, like those guys were made by Stroud, whereas Diggs is now a superstar coming in who will hopefully get similarly made by Stroud. So I am team Diggs. If you get the trio, I would even take a shot on the trio, but I think Diggs should be the one out of all of them in ADP personally.
It's interesting for me because Diggs, he fell off so hard last year in a heavy passing offense that he's now going to a team that there are people he's going to have to earn targets over. Last year in Buffalo, there was a rookie tight end. Like there was Gabe Davis, who was good for, actually early on in the season, Gabe Davis was earning some targets like consistently, and that quickly fell off. But he's now going to an offense where I think if that target share drops, it could probably be detrimental for where he goes at like 25.
See, I think the thing for me is that part of the reason it fell was number one, they had Joe Brady come in, and Joe Brady had a hard time scheming anything besides the run, really, because the pass game overall deteriorated. Like Kincaid did well down the home stretch, but Diggs wasn't there. Diggs was Davis was like up and down. Shakir was pretty good, but wasn't really like a world beater by any stretch. So I think with Diggs, the thing that you have going into Houston is you have legit weapons around him that are going to draw attention away. So Diggs is probably going to be getting like one-on-one coverage outside more than he's ever had at any point in Buffalo. And I think that's the big part. If you believe in Stroud and if you believe in just the value of a great player having one-on-one coverage, like I think that's where Diggs makes sense. And to me, like Nico himself is not this uber talent. I think Diggs is a much better player. I think Nico got there because Stroud's so great. But I think the threat of Stroud is going to make it so like anybody can get the ball at any time, and that's going to help Diggs out like inherently.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely going to have his spike weeks. Sorry, my voice is trying to do its best impression of running away right now.
Are you sick? Or do you have kids, or what's going on?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just like the variant of the week from daycare. It's.
I'm very familiar with that. There was a stretch at the end of the first year we had my kid Luca, who's now 2. I did my entire last month of like DFS content for Splash Play. No voice, couldn't talk at all. Yeah. But like I'm gonna keep doing the streams, but I'm sounding like Lindsay Lohan on stream every day, and it's tough, man. It is.
So if you want me to turn it up still, just let me know, and I'll just keep boosting myself until it sounds normal.
How old are your kids, Pat?
Just turned 1 a month ago.
Oh, okay. So did you get the every sleep regression like we did?
Oh no. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. The just teething and the whole 9.
T-Mac would be my move here. Are we not team Jaden?
Let's do it.
Wait, what? Okay, what?
I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's got to be Terry McLaurin here. He's not the highest ceiling play in my mind, but where we have Debo, I think it actually fits really well with this build. We have a ton of ceiling on this team, by the way.
McLaurin has not had a good QB in his career. Basically, he's not had the opportunity to do the things that most guys who are paid like he does get to do. And shout out Brian. I love your community too. All of your regulars are my regulars. It's awesome to see you too. But yeah, Terry to me is just undervalued. But I have to ask the question though: are you a Jaden Daniels believer, or are you a non-believer who we have to spite and smite at the end of the year?
I like him based on ADP. I think any player in that profile, you should be at least 8% on, even if you don't like them. Like A-Rich last year, if you weren't at 8%. You were shaking in your boots by like game 3, and then probably celebrating after game 4. But
yeah, I got those tweets, and it's gross. We don't celebrate that.
Oh no! Do not at me with any injuries, celebrations. Yeah, that's just wrong. Yeah, he had 2 top 5 finishes in 4 weeks. A-Rich last year.
And Jaden's going to have them too. Jaden is going to be the skeleton key to Bestball Mania 5, as long as he's healthy, obviously. And as long as Cliff doesn't get in his way, but I think Cliff has learned. So that's the hope. I don't know. I believe it more than anything in this draft, personally.
Are you team Luke or team Dotson?
Really neither, but we talk. Who do you want to go with this pick? We'll make that first.
I'm okay with Marquise Brown. I don't think he's gonna have the highest ceiling for the end of the season.
I'm not the most excited.
I like Kittle bringing a little San Fran dub.
Oh yeah, I can live with that.
This area of the draft is pretty gross. Like I'll tend to stick to running back here, like K-Walk or tight end, but where we already have two RBs,
Mm.
um,
I'm
me and
not a big
Kittle.
Kenneth Walker guy. I think that backfield is more ambiguous than people realize coming in with a new coaching staff. And even
True.
last year, like Pete Carroll grew pretty fond of Charbonnet in a way that like Charbonnet doesn't take points off the field. Kenneth Walker can take points off the field. He can add a 50-yard touchdown out of nowhere too. But I wouldn't be shocked if there was like a little bit of a flippening there where we see Charbonnet be the lead back and Kenneth Walker's then more of a home run threat. I don't know.
Whoa. Whoa. No, I agree. Where there is uncertainty with coaching as well, not knowing how they're going to utilize two skilled running backs. You just have to wait and see. Now, I think K-Walk's a beast. Like yards after contact, um, he's always going to have a role.
Mhm.
But yeah, I could see it. Pick 63. I'm mixing him in still, probably around 8%. I don't want it to be crazy high or low, but I do like Stevenson, and the competition there is Antonio Gibson, who we know has a fumbling problem. So
I like Stevenson more in like the 90-ish range. I think
do
I would
you?
like to me like David Montgomery is like a legit back in this range where you know you're going to get a good amount of goal line work. You know you're going to be salting big games away.
Mhm.
Aaron Jones, hopefully similar principles for Minnesota, who not going to be as good as Detroit, but still should have some decent games.
Right.
Like those guys to me are like locked into something. Ramondre, it's again new ambiguous coaching staff things are always something with running backs that I feel like people miss. And just when somebody comes in, like last year with Houston's the best example. I didn't take much Dameon Pierce last year because I saw like the analytics for him. He was great at avoiding tackles. Everything else is kind of mid. And they brought Singletary in, and it's like, okay, we see a new coaching staff coming in. You see a guy brought in. Anybody can win that backfield. The other guy could still have a role, but anybody can win and be the lead back in that backfield.
Right.
And I think for me, that's where, you know, guys like Walker, guys like Pierce, I just worry a little bit that like they maybe didn't show enough, even though Walker, to his credit, Walker was a lot better year 2 than year 1. And like in all the advanced analytics stuff that I sweat.
So let me ask you this. Are you more worried about Antonio Gibson being the RB2, or are you more worried about Gibbs being the RB1 in front of Montgomery?
Interesting. I think relative to ADPs, I take more Gibson. So I guess I see the upside in Gibson more. I don't take Gibbs a lot at his ADP. I do like him as a concept, but I would rather have Montgomery at 73 because I think he's the adult in that running back room. And, you know, in Gibbs and half point PPR, he's going to get more pass game work. But I don't know. Gibbs to me, like, I just don't think there's a shot that he ends up getting 75-25, where Achane might get 75-25. Gibbs, I think, is locked in. The best case for him is like 60-40 for him.
I think there's a really good takeaway there too, where you are a little higher on Montgomery, who goes later. So then you're adjusting your take. You're correlating that take by taking a little less Gibbs, and I think that's a really smart way to really like shore up your process. Is make sure
you still
you're
have to take
good
some.
on
Like
both
you should
ends.
take the inverse side of the bet, but like, you know, I don't want to zero Gibbs, but I want to be more mindful, like you were talking about earlier. Take guys then on the dip, take guys on the way down a little bit more when they are there.
From week 12 on, Dave Montgomery had he had one finish just outside the top 12 with 15 points. Finished his RB 13 that week. That seems like everyone must have blew up that week.
Yeah, the touchdown equity is huge, man, for Detroit especially, where Detroit, like, they love passing the ball. Then you get inside the 20 and it's like, all right, cool, all risk is off the table now. Let's just run it and get it in. And like, I don't think it's going to be any worse for them this year. Every game this year for them is like over 44 points.
Still want to catch up at receiver with one of,
honestly, any of that top
these,
4 receiver, top 3 receiver, not Rashee Rice. Yeah, Watson I would throw into the mix too. I think I think he's slept on an ADP, but I'm cool with Deontay. Like, I like Deontay as the pick here, because then we're live for. Well, I guess we didn't take any Tampa Bay guys, but we are live for Bryce Young late if we do get kind of scooped to QB. Yeah. So I don't hate that.
I like it.
Deontay's one of those guys I've come full circle on, where I really didn't like him the year heading into last year because he just was the worst wide receiver in every advanced analytic the year before last. And he looks good enough. And I think like Dave Canales is just one of those guys to me where like there's certain guys in football who are geniuses that I will follow till the end of the earth. Yeah. Shane Steichen's one of them, McVay less so. But like to me, Canales is like such a sharp guy. And Pat, this is the real meta is if your offensive coordinator is like sexy, like he's like in good shape, and then he moves up to head coach, just follow that guy and he's gonna lead.
Yeah. Super Bowl's coming. The Super Bowl's coming. It's crazy. That's crazy. Did Jaden? No one reached up, right? 89 is kind of tough. We'd have to get him right at ADP, which I tend to want to push him there.
I think it's reasonable. It's reasonable to push him. I think it wouldn't be insane to take him, given that we have the bet on Washington and Atlanta.
Yeah.
But it depends what's here, I guess. Like the question for me would be like, what are we missing out on if we don't take him?
Bingo.
So
Bingo.
we're missing out on
there's some hits here at running back, but let me tell you, there's more mines here than hits.
Yeah.
One of my clicks would probably be like a Jonathan Brooks, especially having this RB room.
Oh, and having Carolina. Yeah, I can live with that if we want to push Jaden. I'd be okay taking Jaden, but Brooks to me, I think could be going the 70s later in BBM. So
and mainly we have that double stack with San Fran. So with having two QBs there in that same range, we just really want one of the two.
Sure.
Now, sure, we could have reached up for Jaden here and then went Purdy.
Mm-hmm. That was what I was thinking in my mind, but I like Brooks. Like, again, don't know that we need a lot more than Brooks at this point at running back. Yeah. But if you add one more late, if you add, I don't know, anybody from 150 on, I feel like that's a pretty decent running back room that you don't need much more on top.
Yeah. And Deontay Johnson, for me, someone that will, like, we have good floor now. In my mind, where we're leaning in on Deontay Johnson at pick 80, you're leaning in on someone that has a high floor that will produce. So now I think this should change our draft landscape with spike week guys. We should be targeting those guys that, like the Marvin Mims, you're hoping for like 2 big games. You're hoping for a Rashid Shaheed type season.
Right. Yeah. Jalen Hyatt's one of those guys for me where it's like I could just use one guy who'll give me 18 points 3 times in the course of a year. And yeah, I'm with you on that. Just when you have the baseline of a portfolio, you can then take some shots, and especially, lightly correlated shots. Do you like to take that a little bit later on?
Oh, yeah. Jordan Love off the board. Warren, Caleb, Zach Moss. It's funny how many running backs we just saw paired together because no one knows what to do with these guys. So they just all stick together in the same range. What's a receiver that you think could see some steam up into that range or even belongs in that range?
Probably Lockett. Lockett, I think, gets enough public love that he can come up a little bit more. I'm surprised to see Curtis Samuel sticking around this long. Oh, Trevor Lawrence.
I agree.
Whew.
Go get your guy season.
Kind of him to not take one of the QBs we want, I suppose.
We'll take it. Everyone here has a QB except for KY.
Yeah, Lawrence is going to get steamed up to that range too, I think, with just the positive reports, the knowing Christian Kirk's the alpha. Like, people love Christian Kirk. I think he's coming up to the 40s. I would say for Trevor Lawrence, him going top 100 again. People got burned by him last year, and they're dying to get burned again if it happens again.
I think he's my highest drafted. I know he's my highest drafted QB in the big board.
Really?
But I can't remember if he's like my highest drafted player overall.
I'm down on him just because I think Doug Peterson, his teams just get a little bit less good every year in a way where I think he was close to getting fired last year, honestly, like because of the fact that he got rid of his entire coaching staff. Like, that's usually the death knell before the coach goes. We'll see if he can get it back. Like, they have added weapons, even though you lose Calvin Ridley, you add in BTJ and you add in Gabe Davis, probably a net. But still, for Brian Thomas, I like the talent. And for Lawrence, I think he's got to prove it here. He's going to get the contract no matter what, though, which is insane. He's going to be like getting $50 million a year when they agree to their deal.
Remember where Trevor Lawrence was going, though, in the big board? He was going at 130 at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, the Ayuk drafter is to our left. We're going to try to push Purdy.
Yeah.
In the double stack.
You made the stream worthwhile for me, Pat, by doing that.
We could stop. We could stop with Purdy and Daniels, too. And this will allow us for an extra roster position on the back.
Yeah, if somebody takes Purdy on stack, which happens enough in rooms that we're not dead, but that would this would be a really nice. Getting Brooks and getting both would be a huge win for this team.
Now we pray. Now we sit and pray. But if
we got
you guys
Washington, Atlanta, we're good.
No, this team's gonna be strong no matter what. Mm-hmm. We'll bring in some late Bryce Young stack. Some Derek Carr, A.T. Perry. It is tough to get sniped on your early investment players, especially when you have a double stack. But you just have to turn that team into, like, Jay Daniels is a good example. He can have a spike week bigger than Brock Purdy, I just saw purple. That's good.
I had a brief life flashing before your eyes.
A rushing QB prototype, especially, can have a bigger spike week than the pocket QB, even if 2 pass catchers get there. So I do like those scripts for having a rushing QB if you miss out on your double stack.
And we have a great game stack for last year's week 17 too for the Niners and Washington. We're back.
Adam, don't spread this news. Don't spread this news.
How dare he?
Haven't been paying attention. We're too involved in conversation here.
This guy's making us sweat it though. 3, 2, 1.
Oh God, no!
Oh!
I think the Calvin Ridley's before ADP.
Okay, we're live.
It is. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. You had me worried. J Dubs.
Don't do it.
Let's
All right.
go.
This is a great team.
Let's go.
The weight of our collective power is really coming together in this team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 1.5 mil split still, it's still a good amount of money. I'll still quit the job here. Yeah, this is good. This is good. Super balanced. This is how I like most of my builds. Now we don't even have to touch at running back. We can catch up safely at receiver. With Kittle, I tend to lean 3 tight ends. What are your thoughts?
Why's that?
I just think the amount of games that he disappears for in a season. Now, maybe that is just like a raising the floor advance rate type take, but I think at tight end, especially, you're not giving up a whole lot at the end of drafts to add someone that could be a top 3, could be a top 5 play on any given week. But on top of that, yeah, just really increasing the advance rates, I think would be the best case, the best argument for drafting 3 with Kittle.
I think in this build with how sturdy we are at running back, where you definitely don't need to get to 5, 6, I think that makes it a little more palatable to me. To me, if you're taking tight end top 75, I'm usually doing 2 no matter what, and just making the bet that Kittle's going to go nuts. I'm not a huge Kittle guy overall so far this year, just because if he's going cheap, I'll take him, but he's kind of coming up because of the Niners enthusiasm. But I could see what you're saying. I think I would still, generally, for most team constructions, I'd probably still go 2, but I think your point's pretty sound.
Where would your 2 be? Would it be all the way to Juwan Johnson? Would it be Noah Fant?
It's got to be a guy with a real role, I think. To me, Sinnott would be a good tight end 2 for this team, and we can live with that. We're double stacked at QB then. I think, and I do believe in him more than I think some people out there do. So that would be it for me. If you get Noah Fant as your tight end 2, feels a little thin, but it probably shouldn't. I think that he could be okay. But if you're taking Tucker Kraft as your tight end 2, you don't want to do that kind of thing.
What are your thoughts on Hunter Henry? He's someone that I have ranked up in this Freiermuth range, right behind Freiermuth.
I think that's fair. I'm not huge on Freiermuth, and I think Hunter Henry is getting a good situation that's going to be infinitely better no matter what. If it's Drake May starting, great. If it's Jacoby Brissett, probably even better for him because Brissett's going to work in the middle of the field a little bit more. Yeah. So I think he's pretty covered no matter what. And again, the glow up of just having competent coaching. Alex Van Pelt ran a really good offense last year in Cleveland. Now he's coming over to New England and going to do the same thing. I don't think New England's talent's the hugest, but I don't know if you're a Bill Simmons guy at all, Pat, or if this is a little bit, the timing's off on it. But Ewing theory is there a little bit for just the changeover. Belichick obviously is the greatest coach ever, but you have that guy out. You just have the inertia of a new team that's going to be happier and can play music in the locker room after they haven't been able to do that for 20 years. That'd be nice. Schultz wouldn't be bad here if we want to keep not taking receivers. Dotson would also correlate, obviously.
The Dotson clicks gross. I think I'm still clicking Brandon Cooks here. We have a mini with Dallas and Carolina week 17. I don't know if that tickles you in any way.
Dallas is playing Philly week 17.
Dallas plays Philly?
Yep.
Who's... Ooh. All right, we're going correlation then.
Yeah, I like Cooks. I think Cooks is undervalued too.
Who's Carolina play?
Carolina plays Tampa Bay.
Thank you.
I have my sheet up here too. I do know. I have memorized week 17. Week 16 still never going to be memorized, I don't think. But yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised, Fat. I'm not. Not that I'm checking you right now, but I'm checking.
We've hit the weekly winners over the last how many days? Since Friday.
That will bend your brain a little bit.
I deep dove into all top 10 finishing teams for weeks 1 through 17 and pulled about 23 data points from that. Wow. And yeah, it was really fun, and I couldn't have done it without Josh. He's a pounder. He basically put it all together, made it look pretty for us. And then
Nice.
we did some weekly winners data streams, and those have got some really good feedback. Because now last year we're going based off BBM3 data. So to actually have some data to go through is just going into every team and seeing what running back strategy they used and really just pulling as much data as possible off of each team. That was it was fun. I learned a lot, and it makes me want to draft more weekly winners. So if you guys haven't seen those videos, we have part 1 and part 2 out from yesterday.
Do you like doing the different styles of drafts? Because I think that's been a blocker for me. Like people always ask me about weekly winners, about the
Mm.
eliminator, and it's like
Hmm.
I'm a BBM drafter. Like even the super flex stuff, when that's
Yeah.
pre-draft, I'll do it, but I don't really enjoy it. I like
Yeah.
the classic mode, and I think it's like different skills for each tournament too.
Yeah. I think it depends on where you think you can get an edge and if you can find that edge. I'm a very like plus if I think I have a plus EV edge in any contest, I'll draft anything that will make me money. So yeah, it depends. Where there wasn't a lot of data out about weekly winners, getting to it, I I haven't seen anyone else do it. So like first or whatever, um, to be able to get that edge on like who filled the flex the most, wide receiver, running back, and then seeing that running back filled it 60% over receiver.
Really?
Okay, were those teams drafting running backs as their 6th positional player? No tight end. Or were they drafting wide receivers? More often than not, they were drafting receivers, but the running back was still hitting the flex. Here, I am just like a Josh Downs guy. Michael Pittman also left the field today. I don't know his
Oh.
current status, but I saw something that he was swarmed by trainers and he left the field. So
Yeah, Downs would be okay. Wicks is going to get the most steam because of the public stuff, but
mhm.
whichever you prefer is fine by me.
Let's go Downs in this one. I'm like draft off news. I'm big on that. I'm also I might be the anti Wicks guy. I might be the
Really,
anti
I mean,
Wicks
I'm
guy.
not anti, but like he's getting too much. Like Watson's an alpha guy. Reed's
There's
proven to be
just
good.
if
It's too much.
Watson stays healthy, I just don't see it for Wicks. Sure, he'll be a good spike week guy here and there. He'll have his games, but I don't see how he has a high ceiling consistently next season
Did you see
without
Watson's OTA videos at all of him like run? He looks like spry. Like for a guy that's
yeah,
like worried, they're worried about the hamstring. Like he's full go already in a way where I was
yeah.
like, he looks better than he did starting the year last year by a pretty wide margin.
It worries me from last year that he finished the season, I'm pretty sure, without an injury, and then he comes back to OTAs last year with that with it's a lifelong soft tissue with a hamstring.
Mhm.
We saw it snap on live TV, so it does it does worry me a little bit. Now, his case, the injury percent that he gets re-injured, I think is extremely high.
Mhm.
But even if Wicks gets that role as the third wide receiver on the field at pick 138, I'm just not overly excited about it. That's all.
I also think Wicks, like the guy he'd have to beat out would probably be Dobbs. And Dobbs is like
Yeah.
Jordan Love. Like that was the guy that Jordan Love worked out with all summer last year, which Watson was not doing. And
Yeah.
stuff like that matters. Like having your safety blanky guy, like the local Green Bay beat reporter for The Athletic said that Romeo Dobbs plays an Amon-Ra St. Brown like role. I was like, what? But like I get it in terms of like he's the guy that you're looking for when the ball can't move. You're
Yeah.
getting the guy,
Right.
you're getting it to
Right.
Dobbs. So
Right.
I think there's a logic there, and I think it's hard for Wicks to unseat. Is he better than Bo Melton? But yeah, by like worlds. But I don't know that
Mhm.
he's going to be a shoe in to get routes over Reed and Watson.
And I would rather honestly just leverage the Green Bay receivers with the running backs. And for me, it's not even Josh Jacobs. It's Lloyd. So now Josh Jacobs has fallen down to planet Earth now after going near the 2-3 turn at one point.
Hmm.
He's coming back down to Earth. But yeah, Marshawn Lloyd is someone I have to bump up in the ranks. It's an offense that wants to run the ball with multiple running backs. I think he still needs to get around like goal line work. Who's going to be the horse there? And obviously AJ Dillon will still be in the mix a little bit, but yeah, Lloyd is someone that I'm trying to target right now before he gets even more steam.
And Green Bay, like I'm not worried about Jacobs' hamstring now, but Jacobs was not the most efficient last year. His deal is fundamentally like a 1-year deal that they can get out of. So even though it's 4 years on paper, only 1 year guaranteed. So to me, like if Lloyd is like a guy who's got a lot of juice and they've talked positively about him, I think that Lloyd can make a surge. I think he's got a better shot to make a surge upwards than Wicks does personally. Like I think Wicks is kind of blocked to some extent. Lloyd to me, it's got all the opportunity in the world.
Right. Not to mention the news about Jacobs, and could this be a lingering issue? The uncertainty with that right now, it should have you bump players up in the ranks. You should be reacting to that news.
Yeah, it never makes sense to me when one side goes down and the other side doesn't come up. Like naturally, there should be a push-pull dynamic.
Oh God. Oh man, we get sniped on both of them here. That's
we were due. We ran too pure.
It's true. It's true. I don't mind bringing Henry up here.
I was going to say I don't mind Mooney for another bet on Washington Atlanta, so we can really game stack it and to get some spike weeks from Mooney whenever London doesn't go off or Pitts doesn't go off.
Ooh, okay. I like it. I like the reasoning for leveraging the elite receiving core. Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, especially
leveraging two pieces there.
Too. Like, yeah.
I do a lot of that in weekly winners. Like I can't stop drafting Pacheco for the reason of, okay, I'm going to bet on Mahomes not having a big week this week. Pacheco gets in the end zone. I love leveraging elite QBs with the running backs. It's one of my favorite weekly winner strategies.
Yeah, QB with running back. There are some people who like don't do it at all, and I think that's insane. You're getting a bet on the offense through that. You're not getting a perfectly correlated bet, which I think is kind of the blocker for some people. But like for last year, even if you had Hurts and Swift, you were probably ping ponging enough weeks there for a while until things hit the skids for Philadelphia. But there's like a lot of situations like that people kind of sleep on, and Allen and Cook even Allen's going to pull from Cook a little bit, but if Cook can hold off Ray Davis, like he's going to be a monster.
I mean more in the sense of like leveraging the elite QB by not drafting them, taking the running back. So on that.
Oh, so you're just saying the production.
So you're leveraging.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's you. Same principle there. But if you put them together too, I don't mind. But yeah, I think what you're talking about it, especially for weekly winners, that kind of logic makes a lot of sense.
Hey, King of Kings, Frank takes your boy, Troy Frank.
There we go. I'm glad. As long as he doesn't fall into the 160s, we're okay. I feel like Troy Franklin's paid the price already for the draft capital. Now we should be starting over and going, hey, Troy Franklin, you're a star. Let's treat you as such.
We should be getting Hunter Henry here too. Like both these teams have 2 tight ends.
Okay. But so win-win there.
Frank doesn't need, he could definitely lean into these 2 QBs.
Yeah, I would agree. If you got Dak, I feel like Dak's enough to me. If he has Lamb and Dak, it'd be a little.
This is just a super well balanced team right here. Ferguson and Goddard, strong. Harrison, London, Pittman, Cup, Brendan Cooks, Troy Franklin, James Cook, Joe Mixon, Devin Singletary, like super balanced drafter.
Yeah, honestly, your room is full of a lot more balanced drafters than a lot of the rooms that I do, where it's like an arms race to get more wide receivers in. But I think this build that we have is nice, and the one you just pointed out is nice. So I'm glad that I've taken this journey to the pound to see how the other half lives.
Let's go. It's not always greener on the other side. On our side, the grass is burnt, but we make it look pretty. What are your thoughts on Vidal? This whole Chargers backfield situation with Dobbins, no one really knows what to do with Dobbins or Vidal. Is it just going to be Gus Edwards in the red zone and everyone has to accept it?
I think it probably will be. Gus, though, is, I think he's 29, turning 30 either this year or turned 29. So, like, he's getting in the age where maybe the trust shouldn't be there quite as much. But he got the contract. He wasn't at OTAs to open. I don't know what's up with that when you got a new contract. So, I don't know if he's banged up or what. But yeah, besides that, I think it's Gus. I just don't get the Vidal thing. And Harbaugh and Roman are the most willful coaches probably in the NFL. So if anybody's going to make Vidal a thing, they're going to make him a thing. But I really if you get crushed at Troy, I just don't know how you crush in the NFL. Like that's the big thing for me. Like Christian Watson crushed at North Dakota or whatever. Like great, he crushed against the lower competition. Trey Lance crushed against the lower competition and then failed in the pros. But if you don't crush against the lower competition, how are you going to crush against the best of the best? I don't know.
40 run plays a game.
Yeah, that's really the way that it gets there. It's like just the sheer will of you're our guy, go get him.
Yeah. I do think Gus Edwards, it's probably the answer, but doesn't mean he's necessarily a good pick based on ADP still. So just with the lack of ceiling, in my opinion, he has 2 touchdown upside. But yeah, the 2 running backs behind him, it's muddy. That's one of those backfields that I think, pending I get a crazy fall on someone like Vidal, and maybe I went like 0 running back, and I need that outcome that's the nuts on that player to help that team give it what it needs to advance and succeed. But I'd rather just wait for more information than be taking probably a 0 at least on one of these guys, Vidal or Dobbins.
Yeah, Dobbins, I worry about the injury stuff because he's really got to overcome a lot of bad historical data to have the 2 injuries back to back like that. But he says 100% healthy, and like he's definitely got the most juice out of those guys. If he is, even if he's like 85% or 80% of what he was, like he's got the most juice. So he might be undervalued a little bit.
And yeah, right. Like Gus Edwards, you're not going to see him out there on 3rd down. So if you expect the Chargers to be playing from behind, like someone is going to be getting that work. So we'll see. If he falls to us at 176, maybe I'll eat my words. We completely deterred the stream from
That's one of my favorite bits to do now. I call it walking them down, but like you just talk shit about the player that you want to take and just hope that they get all the way around the bend. And sometimes it can work. Probably won't always.
He's been secured. All right, let's see. If not, like I'm completely cool with taking Bucky. So okay. I really
too, obviously. Malachi Corley kind of worried about. He's working with the second team right now. Lazard is back in the slot doing his thing. It's hilarious.
Yes. We knew it was going to happen, though. You have Vidal here? Yeah. It's 16 picks after ADP. Now he could fall. Like BBM, you could get news like, yep, Dobbins the number 2, Vidal, whatever. He could definitely fall, but in today's market where I believe he's still a riser. Let's actually take a peek.
He was up at 150 for a minute there.
He's minus half a pick. Look at
clear eyes.
Yo, what a troll. Last month he's up 33 picks, but yeah, I guess he's just kind of sitting. I can't take it with that photo.
I honestly have not looked at BBMDB. I didn't know they made these cool updates, so that's good to know.
Oh yeah. Just this thing's beautiful.
It's crazy that I'm surprised that Underdog just hasn't bought him out for like give a guy fucking 250K and he'll probably just make the thing for you. I'm surprised that hasn't occurred yet.
Yeah, this is really a really neat tool, and it comes in handy just for trying to figure out the market on different players and where they're even trending.
Mm-hmm.
So that's helped me tremendously with my ranks, especially help get ahead of ADP risers and fallers.
How are you enjoying doing ranks, by the way? Because I'm doing them for the first time this year, and it's a lot.
So I did the draft guide last year. We put that out for free, and we released 5 editions of it, basically once every like 20%, and that was awesome. It was really well received that we did it again this year. That's based on Underdog's current ADPs. Mm-hmm. The CSV rankings is like, these are your takes, man. Like, where are you taking that guy? You say he's a bad value in round 5. Okay, where do you have him? Mm-hmm. Excuse me, where do you have him? So it's really helped me like sure up my player takes as well. And yeah, it is a lot, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
Here, we're balanced. We could probably go one more receiver. We could stop at RB if we needed to. Like we're gonna have a luxury pick in this range here. Do we want it to be a tight end? Do we want to go running back?
You could take a shot at Keaton Mitchell coming back and then giving you something in week 17 versus Baltimore if you wanted to, because we don't need his production for the ACL. But I'll follow your lead.
I'm handcuffing myself here.
You forecast
11 picks of value.
I get it.
The spoon was out. I'm sorry. The spoon.
We've now added a little bit.
We've now added spoons to the. Oh shit! I couldn't. I saw 11 picks on Juwan. I couldn't.
I think with Henry, this is an acceptable 3 tight end build. I don't know if you have to normally with Kittle, but I think I can live with it. We have the luxury here. We have our 4 running backs, so we're okay.
I think, yeah, you could easily lean into the narrative that Jonathan Brooks returns to semi-normal sooner than later, right? Maybe he has a 50% workload to start the season, or maybe he misses 2 games, like whatever it is, if he has a setback. You could lean into either narrative with that team. Having Devon Achane, it makes me want to have one more piece at RB.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're clearly leaning into Bijan Achane here with this build. At 32 is really cool too.
And I think they can make your lineup most weeks. Maybe you're not filling the flex with a running back most weeks, which I know, it seems like that would be a preferred thing to be able to do. But I think they're giving you those 2 spots. Like, it's hard for me to believe there's a lot of not 10-point games for Bijan or Achane.
True. What can we do here with? Let's see.
We would need
Rams. Demarcus Robinson would be a bring back for No, that's weak.
No, it would have to be Detroit. I'd be like Khalif Raymond or somebody like that. Yeah. Or somebody from Miami too. You could do for week 16.
Which we have a little Achane here for 16, which is neat.
Could do Jonnu and go for a fourth tight end.
Dude,
Odell wouldn't be a bad pick for this team, to be honest.
It wouldn't be terrible. Now, end of season upside, are you like let's say it's week 13, 14? How confident are you in Odell fighting off some of the younger guys like Malik?
I like Malik a good amount. I thought that he got the best landing spot before they signed Odell. I think he would have changed their situation as a slot, being fancy Trent Sherfield, fancy whatever guys they've had there, Barrios, all those guys. So I really liked him a lot. I think Odell now with that contract, he's going to at least do what he did in Baltimore, but now we're a year removed from the injury. So he's got less juice, another year removed, but should be a little healthier. I think he's going to be out there a lot, and I think they're going to give him the ball. So, yeah. I like Malik, though, but I just think
Adam begging for Malik Washington.
Is Adam a mod here? You've given this man powers?
Oh, Adam has the wrench. Adam has the wrench. It's dangerous. It's the amount of lad talk that now comes up highlighted it's insane.
He brought Lad to my world. He was the first one who was like, Lad's going to run better than Tank Dell. And I was like, fucking no way. And then he was absolutely right. So Adam deserves all the credit for it. But I don't know if he deserves mod powers.
Yeah, we're gonna have to keep our eyes on that. Dearness Johnston. I don't know how I feel about the whole Cleveland running back charades here with Foreman.
He's probably we don't need a Foreman, I think, for this build because he's there in the front half when Nick Chubb is getting back to speed and assuming that Chubb can get back to speed. I think he's better if you have like a 0 RB team and you just need somebody to plug in at RB6 and maybe get some touchdowns. We could do Herbert. I still think Keaton Mitchell for the Houston bet would be okay, and because we just don't need him really for the first half of the year too much. But follow your heart.
No, I like this. I like this now that I mean, shit. Even the Herbert fall would be good, but I like Keaton in this range, and we're getting one of the two. So,
yeah,
this is awesome.
John who goes there. John who got cheap from the big board.
Yeah. I like, dude. Here it is. You told him to go 4 tight ends. He went 4 tight ends.
Well, he needs it because he's got Hawkinson as number 1, and Hawkinson legit might be out 12 weeks.
Right. Yeah, Hawk, I can't touch unless he hits like 140.
Same.
We got him in a biggest board, I think, at 140. But again, like, who you pair him with, too, I think also could make you want to draft him a little more or less. Like, I had Pitts on that team, so it's like, okay, let's lean into Kyle Pitts, and Hawkinson can miss the first 8 games comfortably.
Yeah. That's smart. That's a smart way to handle it. I feel like I do see Hawkinson drafted a lot in a way where I'm like, that's not the smart way to handle it, and that's the tough part for me. Especially
the biggest board, which is a 4 out of 12 advance. That's another thing. Hey, Bindles, officially a YouTube spoon. Welcome, my man.
Bindle's the most generous man in the world of YouTube. I feel like every stream he's giving out memberships, he's joining things. Like, kudos to him, man. He knows how to promote his YouTube channel, if nothing else.
Oh yeah. Well, there's only 24 hours in the day, so I don't know how he stays up to date with every streamer. It's crazy. I wish I could do that.
You guys are like the new class. Like Bindles, our guy Tyler, I think I enjoy a lot. I'm sure there's some other streamers out there missing, so I apologize if not mentioning them. But like, I feel like you guys, you put in the work and it shows. And I think, and for Bindles especially, just throwing money at the problem doesn't hurt.
I'm crying. One more receiver, and we're done. That's the team.
I like it.
Let's go. We're going on a run. J-Dubs gifted 1 membership. Who's it going to?
Investor Better.
Oh, dude, I think that's the second time he's won.
That happens so often. Every time that Bindles was somebody, I think we gave our guy Robert Griffin III gave away 5 memberships. It was all.
Oh shit! We're on the clock. We're on the clock.
Oh fuck! Pick Tez. You got it. You got.
I'm worried about. I do worry about the receivers for elite rushing QBs, because I do think their spike weeks are tied pretty heavily to that quarterback. I did something on Zay Flowers. Anytime he spiked basically as a wide receiver 1, Lamar was there, except for the one game Zay Flowers had a rushing touchdown. I'll pull it up because it's very interesting to look at.
The thing for Tez to me and what he did in college, like he was the air yards merchant of all the air yards merchants in college because he got fed by Drake May, and Drake May is a willing deep ball thrower. That's what he opens up to me, because I think they don't have that in that offense. Like Zay, though fast, he's like slot guy fast. He's underneath fast. He's not 50 yards downfield fast, where I think the athletic profile too for Tez can be there. So I like him with our little bet on Houston, Baltimore. We're not getting the full Houston, Baltimore stack. That's honestly probably going to be a little bit chalky. So
let me pull this up. Let's see. Half PPR. Okay. We have Zay Flowers on the right. Let's pull this up.
Also in the chat, Utah Sports saying Hawk will likely be back after the bye in week 6. That would be a very fast recovery for a guy that didn't have surgery until January.
Yeah.
So I'd be mindful of that one. An older guy too.
All right, so Lamar Jackson is on the left, and then we have Zay Flowers on the right. So week 12, Zay Flowers finishes wide receiver 3. Week 12, Lamar finishes QB 1. Wait. Yeah, QB 1. He finished as a top 12 receiver week 17. Again, Lamar finishes QB 1. The 1 week, where is it? Here. He finishes wide receiver 3. He had the rushing touchdown, 37 yards, 1 attempt. So very, very interesting sort of diving into that stuff too, and seeing which players are tied to the QBs more than the others.
But that's probably because Zay had a big enough target share that he would impact Lamar's thing. Whereas Tez could give you 15 points, and I know that necessarily changes Lamar's day. If anything, it probably hurts Zay and Lamar. I mean, it doesn't hurt Lamar; he's getting a touchdown, but it does sort of pull away from what the expected offensive output's going to be. That'd be my logic for justifying the pick it says.
I like it. Again, it's a late round pick, anyways, and we have a rushing QB who can spike, ahead of Lamar, anyways. Mm-hmm. So on any given week, and you got to lean into the narrative of that team too. But I like this room. This room was fun. We gave. Mm-hmm. We took, we gave, we got sniped. We also had some really nice picks fall to us. But
yeah, J-Dubs, the trade-off of losing Sinnott was worth some of the values we got, I think.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Especially because I forced you to let me draft Juwan Johnson 11 picks after ADP.
We're covered at tight end, though. It's going to be a bummer when Ben Sinnott is Sam Laporta, and you're like, well, fuck, this is the one thing that we needed.
It would be crazy. So Laporta spiked into the weekly winners teams. I think it was 17 times out of, we did top 10 weeks 1 through 17, 170 teams, 10%. 10% on someone that was going in the 18th to 15th round at tight end, at rookie, is just insane. Am I still here?
Oh, you're still here,
all
but
right.
the all right. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
I probably hit a chord or something with my feet. But that's a crazy number for a late tight end to consistently get into a scenario where it's 200,000 drafts, 200,000 teams, and he's hitting that high. It's kind of like the early Puka talk. Like, we're all trying to find Puka. We're all trying to find like Laporta. I'm not convinced that there is a Laporta, especially this year.
I think there's going to be more Laportas moving forward just because of the fact that the NFL, like in flag football, draw closer. So like there's just less of a leap for guys who are good and coming in. And if you have the target share, you have the vacated targets there to hop in. I think it can happen. And, I'm hoping we see it more because last year was a thing where people like I was blame poor John Daigle for this one, but he had pushed back pretty hard on like rookie tight ends. It was like, no rookie tight ends ever. And I'm like, it's not the same, man. It's not the same world. And also like these guys were all huge human beings who are incredibly athletic. And also they produced crazily in college. For this year, you only have a couple of those guys, but I think that just more and more, you're going to see guys who have good competition in college come into the pros. They're good day one. And I think that's the meta that people are missing a little bit right now.
Also, we just have to take a step back from like the data and be like, okay, what's this player's situation? All right. Mayer expected to go tight end 1. Detroit trades like ahead to take Laporta, the first tight end off the board in round 1. So a lot of this stuff shouldn't go overlooked, and it does. Detroit, pocket passing QB, no rushing upside from Goff. Like, who's the backup tight end? Right. So you have to look at each situation different. And even with Ben Sinnott, like, I'm not overly excited about the hype at pick, 150, 140 because of the QB with Daniels. If we do think he's that rushing style QB, it's fine, but it's not as good of a situation as Detroit with the pocket passing QB.
I mean, I think with Sinnott, I think your hope is you're getting the Mark Andrews, Jaden's Lamar, and I think that's the bet I'm comfortable making. And to me, it just comes down to target earning. Like if you earn targets and you played good competition, and you were good with those targets, like you're going to do that pretty much at every level. And that was something too last year with Rashee Rice. Like he played at SMU. I had questions about that. He was like the highest target per route run rate guy out of everybody in that class. So him coming in the Chiefs, I was like willing to make that bet a good amount. That's fundamentally what I believe, but I think we'll see. It wouldn't shock me though if you see Bowers, Sinnott, and I would say Sanders, I think can get there. I have some concern. Stover wouldn't shock me either. They like Stover, but I'm not drafting him. I think that's a little bit flimsy.
Stover was an early talk from Adam too, back in early February of the big board. A little sleeper.
He's talented. It's just you can't pass Schultz, I think, on a team that's win now, but maybe long term. In Dynasty, I'd probably make the bet.
Yeah. So let's hit the 3 teams. J-Dubs, pick 9. Our draft neighbor in this one, Kirk Cousins, Drake May, and Russell Wilson. Very, very interesting there. Pitts in Freiermuth. I like the tight ends. Gibbs, Etienne, Zamir, Brian Robinson, Ray Davis, Algier. You can definitely stop at 5 here.
Yeah.
Maybe pull in a second QB that's a little earlier. But, I mean, the Algier click just seems, for me, even if it's just a strict handcuff, it's tough to be under 8% on Tyler Algier with the potential of, an injury to Bijan. And we've seen Tyler Algier produce.
Yeah, he came back. I loved him his rookie year. He came back down to earth last year enough that I'm not going to cape for him. And this offense that probably will consolidate 80% of the touches to Bijan's way.
Oh yeah, I agree. Just pure, even if he's not a change of pace back, and you just have him pure as a handcuff at pick 160 for a team that is going to put up expected a lot of points. I don't mind the click, but I don't think you needed him. Garrett Wilson, DK, Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Williams, Marvin Mims, and Javon Baker. A lot of ceiling plays here that maybe I would want one more.
Yeah, you could use an 8th.
One more piece. Yeah. So this Algier pick, I'm cool with the QBs, leaning into Russ could start the whole season. We don't know anything about the Pittsburgh situation right now.
We know that they're giving their beat guy all the Mark Kabuli had this whole thing about Russ is the starter and he's going to be the starter and Justin Fields can say what he wants. And it was clearly sourced from the team about how they needed veteran leadership and all of that. And Russ leading the offseason workouts. It's Russ is the starter unless he gets hurt or if things completely go to shit.
he could be a crazy value this year. So I'm not taking enough Russ, and I'll admit that because of the risk of him not playing at the end of the season if
Right.
the team's not doing well. And the wide receiver 2 right now is Roman Wilson on this team. Like there's not a lot of weapons for Russ to work with. You can only throw so many deep balls to George Pickens. So it's gonna be interesting if they can get the run going. But if they get behind, we'll just sort of see what happens in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
But
Russ wasn't as bad in Denver as people think either. Like he got
yeah,
legitimately
sure.
screwed with that situation because of the contract. And I don't know. Like I don't believe in Arthur Smith that much. I think the price tags for most of Pittsburgh is like a little bit high for what Arthur Smith's going to bring to the table. But Russ, just a veteran QB coming in, they wanted that desperately, and now they get it.
Right. What are your thoughts on Justin Fields right now at his ADP of like whatever, like 190?
I get taking the shot if you're
200.
thin at QB entirely, but like I'd rather have Bo Nix, I'd rather have Daniel Jones, I'd rather have guys that I think can be there, especially if I have their targets with them.
Yep.
I just think it's a better shot. Like Fields, no matter what, is not going to play 8 games this year, so I think that's priced into the ADP because you can't have the guarantees and the bonuses that come off with that.
Yeah.
So like for
Cost
Fields,
a fourth round
yeah,
pick instead of a 6th round.
right. So it's like for them, I don't know. I think Fields, I get why people do it. I just wouldn't do it in every draft. I would do it if I felt like my QB was a little bit thin and I got boxed out of everybody from Bryce to Bo Nix, who's going to be like an actual starter. But it's a
Might even say Muth is the wide receiver 2, second favorite target. Could be. He could be a really good value this year.
I'm not a believer. Russ has never sustained a good tight end ever in his career.
Really good point.
And also,
Now,
Arthur Smith killed Kyle Pitts last year, in case we just forgot that too.
if Fields sneaks in there at the end, though, I think Kmet had two touchdown games last year. Jane Daniels, Purdy, Bijan Achane, Brooks, Vidal, and Keaton Mitchell. Debo, Tank, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Jahan Dotson, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, and Devontae Walker with Kittle, Henry, and Juwan Johnson. I think it's a really well-balanced team.
Yeah, I think the Niners side of the equation maybe could have gotten, I don't know where we would have done it, but could have gotten a little more Detroit for their bring back. But I think playing the Niners just boat racing Detroit week 17 is viable. And our bets Washington, Atlanta, which is one of my favorite bets to make. And I think we got good guys from that make kind of game theory sense to me.
Yeah, our ADPs really, excuse me, I'm like dying over here. Didn't match up with the Detroit ADPs, like you said.
Yeah.
Like we would have had to go JMO over Jonathan Brooks at 89, I believe.
I don't even think he was there.
Damn, he went at 77.
Yeah, ETR, I think ETR or at least Silva has him pretty high. I've got him in the mid 80s, which I thought was aggressive enough, but he should come up. I think, but
that's wild. That's wild. But that was a good one right there. And then Frank on the back at pick 12, he ends up leaning in on Dak and Staffy, which I'm cool with. James Cook, Joe Mixon, Singletary, Kendra Miller, Rashawn Johnson. I think you can stop here as well and lean into these 3.
Yeah, Damian Pierce does nothing for that team.
Yeah.
And frankly, Jawar Jordan, I think, is more likely going to be the handcuff to Mixon.
Oh, spice. Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, Michael Pittman Jr., Cup, Brandon Cooks, Troy Franklin. I like the weapons here in the receiver room. You have nice floor with Pittman, should have a nice floor / ceiling with Drake. Marvin Harrison Jr., like I like this, like a lot of depth and a lot of ceiling on this.
Yeah, a nice wide receiver for sure. As long as Pittman's not dead, based on which I didn't see those reports because I was in meetings. I don't know. Yeah. Now you got me worried about it. I didn't look it up on Twitter yet.
The 32 beat reporter account on Twitter is just like, it's OP.
Oh, that and Coach Speak Index right now are just like above and beyond anybody else out there. Those guys deserve all. Excuse me, I'm getting your thing.
I'm sorry, I got him sick.
They deserve all the kudos. Is what I was gonna say. That's it.
Yeah. This is the draft room daycare we got going on. Jake Ferguson, Goddard. I like leaning in on those two. I think the capital's really well distributed here. I don't know if he has any stacks, but yeah, Bo Nix maybe instead of Damian Pierce if he was there at 205.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's the only thing I would change. And he wasn't. He came off the board at 189. So yeah, even like he would have had to go like Derek Carr at 181 or Bo Nix at 181. Yeah,
like you don't know you need that until you know. I guess, but
exactly.
it's like not a bad price for. That's probably where he should be going.
it's the risk of being at the 12 spot. Sometimes you just have to take what comes to you, and the boards could be flipped in those 2 rounds that you basically have to wait. So
Yeah.
But Chris, this was a fun draft. You're one of my favorite streamers. If you guys want to catch Chris's content, the link is in the description. Twitter, both Twitters, the YouTube channel. Give him a follow on all 3. Extremely talented. The energy, I need to know what energy drink is your favorite. Are we taking any supplements before the streams?
No, I honestly, if anything, the only thing I'll ever do before stream is I might smoke a little bit of weed because I do that to level myself out through the day. So no, my energy is natural. I just talk fast and you know the thing, like the lights go on, you put on your smile and do the best you can. So I try it. Even when I'm yelling at people in the chat or in the draft room, I do try to keep it pleasant. And I appreciate it. And I really do want to give you your flowers too. Like you really, Pat, you do the work like more than anybody I've seen. And I know Bindles is doing it now, but like you were doing it all last year, all throughout the season, doing the battle royale stuff. You built the community, like you're good for your community. So shout out to you, man. Cause like there should be more guys like you instead of people that just kind of take. And I think I'm happy to be doing the stream. Happy to come back whenever you want.
Hey, appreciate you, dude. Yeah, we'll definitely have to run this one back a little later. Sorry, the volume was off today. The voice, I don't know if it was the mic. I'll double check on both, but appreciate you guys coming out. If you guys enjoyed the stream, slap the like on the way out. We're doing a 24-hour live stream at 2K subs before NFL kickoff, so we'll definitely have to have you on at some point.
I did 8 hours last year, and that was tough. Like that was great. I didn't bring guests on until the end, but like I did it, and that was like one of the more. It was DraftKings Draft 2, and DraftKings inherently just
pulling teeth, pulling teeth.
It's a psychological experiment at that point.
Well, you survived, and we're proud of you. But thank you for coming on again, and I hope everyone has a good day. Pounders.